I never expected a simple bubble could change my life forever. The millionaire dad was watching. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It was a mundane Saturday at the park. The sun blazed down, and laughter echoed around me like a sweet melody. But I was alone. I stood by the playground, my heart heavy. My fingers trembled as I clutched a bright pink bubble wand, its paint chipped and worn from use. Suddenly, I felt a strange urge to blow a bubble, not just any bubble, but the biggest, shiniest one I could muster. With a puff of breath, the bubble grew. It swayed like a dancer in a gentle breeze, glistening like a jewel in the sunlight. Just then, a crowd began to gather. Parents hushed their children, eyes glued to my creation. I glanced around, confusion lacing my thoughts. Why were they staring? Then I saw him, a tall man in a crisp suit, his eyes piercing, radiating authority. $1 million smile on his face, yet an aura of mystery surrounded him. The millionaire dad. Everyone whispered about him, how he made his fortune, the rumors of his past. But none of that mattered to me at that moment. The bubble floated, defying gravity, glimmering whimsically. I reached out, laughter bubbling in my throat, my heart racing. Would it pop, or would it soar into the sky? I didn't know. Suddenly, a gust of wind sent it tumbling away. The crowd gasped, and I felt a lump in my throat. As if in slow motion, I watched it rise, drift, and then land at his feet. Time stopped. The millionaire dad bent down, staring at the bubble like it was a rare gem. My heart hammered in my chest. What would he do? He lifted his head, and our eyes locked. I felt something, recognition. Was it expectation? The onlookers held their breaths, hanging on the edge of this peculiar interaction. I could feel their judgment, the weight of their expectations, the pressure to live up to an unseen standard. My skin prickled with the stares of strangers. But all I could focus on was him. What would he say? Would he laugh? Critique? Disconnect? Before I could grasp the moment, he smiled. Impressive, his voice was smooth, laced with charm. Do you want to create something more? My heart skipped, confusion swirling within me. More? What did he mean? I felt the world shifting, the ground beneath my feet trembling as I stood immobile. The bubble had sparked something, an unexpected connection, a path I never dreamed was possible. What did he see in me? I wanted to shout out, to ask him 100 questions, but the words melted away. Tears threatened to spill over, tension coiling tighter in my chest. It was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. I couldn't shake the feeling that this was a turning point, a fork in the road. But as suddenly as the moment began, the crowd began to disperse, muttering softly among themselves. Their breaths mixed with the soft rustle of leaves swaying in the wind. And just like that, without another word, the millionaire dad turned away, blending into the throng of people. The bubble popped, its remnants scattered like my hope. What had just happened? I stood alone, lost in the silence, aware that nothing would ever be the same. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the last remnants of sunlight dipped below the horizon, I took a trembling breath and clutched my bubble wand tightly. The evening air turned cool, and the park transformed into a different world, shadows swirling like echoes of my emotions. I felt my heart thud loudly in the silence, the thrill of the moment with the millionaire dad still weighing heavily in my chest. I watched as families packed up their picnics and children chased each other in the fading light, laughter ringing like bells amidst the soft chirping of crickets. But for me, the joy felt distant, a mirage I could barely grasp. I was haunted by those piercing eyes, the smile that had lingered in the air like a sweet scent. Do you want to create something more? The words echoed in my mind, leaving behind a cascade of questions that spiraled without end. By that point, my bubble wand felt like a fragile thread connecting me to the impossible. As I bent down to pick it up, a dark-haired girl approached, no older than 8, her face aglow with whimsy. I saw you making bubbles. Can I try? She asked, her enthusiasm illuminating the dimming park. I hesitated, the tangled mess of my emotions clashing with the innocence of her request. With a faint smile, I nodded. Maybe this simple act could bring a little light back to my heart. As she took the wand, I held my breath, watching her with rapt attention as she dipped it into the soapy mixture and pulled it out, bubbles forming as if by magic. She puffed out her cheeks and blew, sending a cascade of tiny, shimmering bubbles fluttering into the air. They danced like fireflies, and for a moment, my heart lightened alongside theirs. Look! Look at them go! She squealed, clapping her hands, her laughter wrapping around me like a warm embrace that I joined in her joy, and we watched together as the bubbles floated away. In that moment, I realized it wasn't merely the bubbles but the connection we formed, two souls finding solace in this fleeting art. For a heartbeat, the weight of the world faded, leaving only the beauty of now, but as the last of the bubbles drifted into darkness, the girl abruptly turned to me with a serious expression. Are you sad? Her innocent question hit me hard, and I mustered a smile, though it felt like a mask slipping over my fears. No, just thinking. Her brow furrowed, but then she took my hand in hers, her tiny fingers wrapping around mine firmly. It's okay to feel sad. Sometimes you just need someone to share it with. I was taken aback. The child's wisdom was astonishing, and for a fleeting moment, I felt seen. Thank you, I replied softly. She simply beamed, her eyes sparkling with kindness before running back to her parents. The echoes of her voice faded as the park emptied. I felt alone again, but now with an unexpected lightness of spirit. Did I truly want to create something more? My thoughts raced back to the millionaire dad. The mystery, the allure, it terrified and intrigued me. What if he had seen something in me, something worth exploring? I decided then, amidst the flickering lamplights, that I would seek him out despite the storm of uncertainty brewing inside me. Determination pooled in my core. I couldn't let this moment slip away. I owed it to myself to see where this road led. As I turned to leave the park, my phone buzzed violently in my pocket. I pulled it out, my heart fluttering when I saw an unknown number flashing on the screen. Hesitantly, I answered, "Hello. Is this the bubble artist?" A deep, familiar voice spoke on the other end. My heart plunged into my stomach, recognition striking me like a bolt of lightning. "Why yes," I stammered, the words barely escaping my lips. "I'd like to talk. Meet me at the cafe on Maple Street tomorrow at noon." Before I could respond, the call ended abruptly. I stood frozen, the icy grip of anticipation coursing through my veins as my mind raced. What did he want to discuss? Was the connection I felt merely a figment of my imagination? Or was this truly the beginning of something extraordinary? A bubbling mix of hope and anxiety filled me as I tucked my phone away. I walked home beneath a blanket of stars, feeling a change stirring in my heart. But amidst the flicker of exhilaration, a new fear crept in. What if I stepped into a world that I couldn't navigate? What if the bubble I was about to create shattered before it even began? I would find out soon enough, and anxiety curled in my stomach as the shadows followed me home, whispering promises and doubts alike. The remaining hours until noon slipped into an eager yet haunting silence. The morning dawned expectantly, light filtering through my curtains in golden streams, illuminating the chaos of my thoughts. No amount of breathing exercises could quell my racing heart. I had rehearsed 100 versions of the conversation in my mind as I dressed, trying to pull together something that would fit the personality he'd seen. A whimsical bubble artist, perhaps, but the truth was I still felt like that uncertain girl in the park, unsure of her place in a world that often seemed too vast and wild. As I made my way to the cafe on Maple Street, each step echoed the weight of my thoughts. What was I thinking? Just one day before, I hadn't even known this man existed. And now, I was about to step into a world that shimmered with privilege yet felt entirely out of reach. The cafe bustled with a charming chaos, clinking cups, laughter, and the aromatic embrace of fresh coffee swirling in the air. I spotted him at the corner table, his gaze sweeping over the room with an ease that suggested he was familiar with comfort and confidence. Distinctly different from the shadows that clung to me, he was a beacon of charisma. As I approached, his eyes caught mine and held, sparking a flurry of emotions I couldn't name, from excitement to an unsettling sense of vulnerability. "You made it," he said, offering a warm smile that disarmed my worries momentarily. "Yeah, I thank you for inviting me," I stumbled through the words, trying to maintain an effortless demeanor. We settled into a conversation that carried the weight of lightness and depth, like a tightrope balancing 1,000 unspoken words. He shared tales of his adventures, dreams fulfilled, and milestones reached, while I offered glimpses of my world, chuckling at my bubble-making antics and the curious encounters they brought, yet deep down, I felt an undercurrent of unease threading through our exchange. While he spoke of his successes, I couldn't help but feel the disconnect, the vast chasm of our lives that separated us. "What is it you truly want?" he asked, leaning in as if his curiosity could bridge the gap. My breath hitched in my throat, the weight of the question sinking into my chest. I'm not sure yet," I confessed, my voice barely above a whisper. "Sometimes I just want to create something beautiful, to share a moment that makes people feel brighter, even if it's just for a fleeting second." His gaze softened, revealing a flicker of understanding. "That's important," he replied earnestly. "We all need those moments. They remind us we're alive. But don't you want more for yourself? Something enduring?" Emotions swirled within me like the bubbles I'd blown the day before. While I craved connection, there was fear gnawing at my resolve. What if my dream life existed only outside the bubble, waiting to burst at the first touch of reality? Before I could respond, a blast of laughter erupted from the entrance as two familiar figures stepped in, a woman and her toddler, the same girl from the park, eyes wide with recognition. My spirit brightened momentarily, but then a flash of reality hit me harder than I could dismiss. The woman approached our table with unbridled enthusiasm, completely unaware of my internal turmoil. "Oh my gosh! I remember you!" she exclaimed, turning to the millionaire, whose face shifted from surprise to amusement. "This is the artist I told you about, the one with the bubbles." "Bubbles?" he echoed, his eyes glimmering with intrigue. Suddenly, I was a spectacle, an exhibit in a gallery I wasn't prepared for. The girl bounded over, her laughter ringing like sweet music, her mother enthusiastically swirling tales of my bubble creations while I shrank under their scrutiny. "You should see the bubbles she makes. They're magical." The girl squealed. As I exchanged awkward pleasantries, a mixture of warmth and dread filled the space. In that moment, my dreams clashed with the weight of expectation, leaving me gasping for air. "Is it true?" the girl asked, her wide eyes fixed on me. "Did he take you here to be his bubble friend forever?" My heart faltered, a simple question loaded with implications I hadn't dared to entertain. I shot a glance at him, seeking clarity, comfort, or perhaps validation, but his expression was obscured behind a curtain of thoughts. Before I could finish my sentence, the cafe doors swung open again. A sharp gust of wind heralded a new arrival. I turned, my heart racing at the sight of another figure, an elderly man, his eyes seasoned with wisdom but shadowed by worry. He stumbled toward our table, pausing only to catch his breath, and my heart sank as I recognized him, my estranged father, struggling to find his footing in a world I had long tried to escape. A torrent of emotions surged within me at the sight, feelings of abandonment, anger, and aching confusion puncturing the moment's fragile balance. Everything I had built, a fragile bubble around my existence, now set to burst. "Can we talk?" he whispered hoarsely, his gaze shifting frantically between me and the man who now occupied the space I felt I needed to protect. Crisis loomed as I confronted this unexpected interruption that threatened to unravel the budding connection I'd begun to forge. How would I choose between the bubbling hope of a new beginning and the tangled legacy of a past I struggled to comprehend? The air felt thick around me, laden with the weight of unspoken words. Time seemed to stretch as I processed my father's presence, the past crashing harshly against the present. With every heartbeat, I could feel the wall I had built around myself begin to crack. This isn't the time, I forced out, desperately trying to maintain control. My gaze flickered towards the silver-haired man standing before me, whose rough exterior echoed years of disappointment. He looked older than I remembered, weighed down not just by age but by the ghosts of choices past that haunted both of us. "Please," he implored, his voice barely above a whisper, the desperation in his eyes bore into mine like a plea. "Just a moment." The bustle of the cafe swirled around us, muffled conversations floated by, the clatter of plates on tables, and the steady stream of the espresso machine drowning out my thoughts. At that moment, I felt a sudden pull back to childhood, when he promised me the world and delivered only silence. I struggled to breathe, each inhalation filled with the tension that coursed between us like a high-wire act. That I turned back to the man across the table, feel his warmth gathering strength even as my chaotic thoughts rattled in my mind. His expression was one of cautious concern, not the judgment I had feared, as he caught my eyes and silently encouraged me to make a choice. I looked back at my father, his figure shaking slightly, and saw for the first time not just the man who had hurt me, but a person stripped of his defenses, just as I had been in those early days after he left. "What do you want?" I demanded softly, my heart pounding in my ears. The words tumbled out, heavy like stones yet almost liberating. "Just a chance," he murmured, every syllable saturated with regret. "I've been trying to find a way back to reach you, to explain everything." Pain twisted inside me, the longing for closure wrestled with the anger I had cultivated for so long. The little girl's question echoed in my mind like a repeated refrain: would I be okay being someone's friend again, someone who had once abandoned me? "Well, this isn't a good time," I managed, trying to reject the flicker of empathy that kindled within. My thoughts turned back to the man who had opened up the world to me, who had cradled my dreams in the palm of his hand. It felt unjust for him to witness this unraveling, this drama between two people lost to each other in the echoes of their choices. "I know this is too much to ask," my father continued, a lurching vulnerability underpinning every word. "But I've been watching you. I know you don't want anything to do with me, and I've made my share of mistakes, but I want to see you stop," I interrupted, my voice sharp. The knot in my stomach tightened as I processed how powerless he made me feel, exposing the wounds of my childhood as he stood there, seeking forgiveness amid my disbelief. At that instant, the little girl's laughter seemed to spiral from her table across the room, drawing my gaze. Somehow unfazed by the heaviness of the world, she exuded a joy so innocently stark against the sorrow enveloping me. It reminded me of my purpose, of why I had decided to bring beauty into the world, one bubble at a time. That it was a tilting dance between conflicting priorities: tenderness and resilience, vulnerability and strength. The whirling chaos within me stilled momentarily. It sparked a thought: what if I could choose kindness not just for the girl's sake, or for the man sitting across from me at this cafe, but for myself? But could such a choice ever come from a place of hurt? In that moment of breathless pondering, the waitress approached and placed down our coffee mugs like anchors in a tumultuous sea. My father momentarily retreated as he took a step back, as if the simple act of serving coffee had forced him into the shadows, nudging me to make a choice I had avoided for far too long. "Excuse me," the man said suddenly, breaking the tension. He rose from the table, majestic in his presence amidst the confusion at our table. "I'll be back." He looked at me, a flicker of understanding darting behind his green eyes, before he turned and walked toward the cafe entrance. My heart sank, fear clawing up my throat as I was left with my father, unresolved and exposed. The world swirled around me while I grappled with the remnants of a conversation that felt half-formed, dangling on the precipice of closure. "Wait," I called after the man, desperation lacing my voice as my father closed the gap between us once more, but it was the voice of a child that rose above the chaos. "Will you come back to play bubbles with me?" A sudden silence enveloped the cafe as all eyes turned towards us. Everything hung in the balance. The hopes of new beginnings and the validation of my past clashed in that electrifying moment, tangling into a chaotic knot as I held my breath, awaiting the flutter of his response. His face was suddenly shrouded in disbelief, but the world felt poised at the brink of change, teetering on the edge of everything I had always dreamed of. What would he say? Would I step forward or retreat? And in choosing one path, what would I lose in the other? The silence that followed felt countless, stretching beyond time itself. I could sense all eyes on me, but in that moment, the world had shrunk to just 3 souls, my father, the man who had unknowingly woven himself into my fate, and me, standing there on the precipice of something I had both desired and feared. "Will you come back to play bubbles with me?" The little girl's innocent voice reverberated in my mind, a question filled with the honesty and simplicity that echoed the core of my being. A part of me craved to echo that child's hope, to reach out for connection like she so freely did, yet another part recoiled from the vulnerability it demanded. As I watched my father's expression change, a flicker of something softening within him, I felt an unbearable duality, almost like I was watching a play unfold, each character grappling with the weight of their roles. The unsteady breath I had been holding suspended in my chest began to spill over, and the reality of what was unfolding gripped me tighter, making it hard to breathe. He began shakily, and the tremor in his voice felt like a mirror reflecting all my unresolved emotions. "I wish," a pause, as if he were gathering strength in each word, "I wish I could go back and fix things. I want to be there for you, for so many moments I missed." I swallowed hard, fighting the wave of memories that threatened to crash in upon me. The laughter that used to fill our home, the soft whispers of bedtime stories, and the longing that lingered like smoke in the air after he left. I harbored no illusions of instant forgiveness, yet something in his voice tugged at a thread deep within my heart, a delicate reminder of the love buried beneath the regrets. The cafe began to return to its rhythm, yet every sound felt muffled to me, an undercurrent to the storm of revelation within. Children, couples, and solitary souls resumed their chatter, but I remained lost in interceding realities. The woman at the corner table shook her head slightly, muttering something about families. The elderly couple smiled knowingly, and it seemed as if the whole room held its breath in anticipation of how my story might unfold. "What do you want?" I asked again, less out of anger this time and more from a place of curiosity, an attempt to cut through the fog that surrounded us. I needed answers, but a part of me was terrified to dig deeper. "I want to earn your trust again. I've spent years regretting every day that I wasn't there, every moment I could have been present but chose otherwise." His eyes shimmered, reflecting the light of the cafe in a way I had rarely seen in years. "Whatever you decide, I want to change. To show you that I can be better." The ache inside me intensified, the warmth in his words ignited fragments of a long-lost hope I thought I had banished. I was grappling with a choice. Was I ready to resurrect a once-beloved connection in the face of all that had been lost? Or would I turn away, enveloping myself in familiar pain instead of risking the unknown? A tiny hand brushed against my leg. I looked down as the little girl from before stood there, her eyes wide and earnest. She held out a bright blue bubble wand, a symbol of the innocence and joy I had once held tightly yet was reluctant to reclaim. "Bubbles make everything better," she whispered, her unfiltered faith in simplicity sparking warmth within me. "Let us play," she insisted, a clear glimmer of hope reflected in her sparkling eyes. In that instant, I felt a choice standing before me, raw and radiant. Could I allow myself to be there, not just for her or for my father, but for me? A surge of determination coursed through my veins as I shifted away from the tightness of pain. Yes, perhaps it was time to confront what lay hidden beneath regret's deep shadows and allow myself the chance to heal. But just as joy began to replace despair, the door swung open, startling me from my reverie. A man walked in, a striking figure with dark hair and an air of authority, drawing every eye with an inexplicable magnetism. "Where is she?" he announced, a mix of curiosity and urgency in his tone. The room stilled once more as he locked eyes with me, his expression unreadable yet charged with unsettling intensity. My heart raced as he drew closer, the moment of newfound possibility dissipating into thin air. In that breathless instant, the layers of my journey began to tangle together in ways I had never expected. The gentle tug of reconciliation with my father warped into a sudden panic at the arrival of this stranger, and the weight of the decision loomed larger than before. "Who are you?" I managed to voice, my pulse racing against the backdrop of mounting uncertainty. As the words hung between us, a gnawing sense of foreboding filled my chest. Was this new arrival destined to disrupt the fragile equilibrium I had only just begun to build? Or was he the key to unlocking a deeper truth that would either shatter or fortify my grip on the past? And as the cafe descended once more into chaos, I realized I was no longer contemplating forgiveness alone. I stood on the crossroad of identities, lost yet searching, scared yet hopeful, caught in a whirlwind of unfolding destinies. The air buzzed not with promises, but with an electrifying anticipation, the possibility of unexpected connections that could either sever ties or bind us closer than we ever imagined. The stranger's presence cast a shadow over the vibrant clamor of the cafe, each whisper and laugh becoming a mere backdrop to the phenomenon unfolding in front of me. He was like a storm cloud encroaching on a sunlit day, and my heart beat uncomfortably fast with each calculated step he took toward our table. The little girl's bubble wand slipped from her fingers, clattering to the floor as if time itself paused to take notice of the impending confrontation. "Who are you?" I repeated, the question heavy with the weight of my uncertainty. His gaze held mine as he edged closer, a flicker of recognition sparking in his dark eyes. "You don't know me, but I've been searching for you." His voice was smooth, almost hypnotic, wrapping around the space between us like a silken thread. "My name is Alex, and I'm here because, well, because of your father." My father shifted in his seat, surprise flashing across his features. "What do you mean?" he asked. A tremor of anxiety betrayed his usually stoic demeanor. Alex straightened, poised as if ready to unearth buried secrets. "I know this is all rather sudden, but there are reasons for things that happened in your past, things you were never told." His eyes narrowed slightly as if calculating how much to reveal. "Your father made choices that weren't just about him. They affected your mother, you, and they have ramifications on your future." An electric crackle filled the air. My mind raced, music of conflicting emotions echoing in my ears, curiosity mixed with dread. Was this man truly a harbinger of truth, or a specter of further disappointment? The little girl tugged at my pant leg, her innocent presence a gentle reminder of the ability to find joy amidst chaos, but an undeniable anxiety tied my stomach in knots. "Your father," Alex hesitated, his voice lowering, as if the weight of revelation might crack the foundation of our fragile reality. "I know about the debts, the mistakes, and the failure to protect your family. But it's bigger than that. I believe I've found a way to amend the past, to regain what was lost." The room shimmered with unvoiced questions as I felt the world shifting beneath me, turning toward raw possibilities I needed time to digest. My father's expression morphed from one of confusion to something more complex, perhaps hope, tinged with guilt. I couldn't help but wonder what lay behind those insightful eyes. Had he known that someone like Alex would emerge, someone who could potentially rewrite a history fraught with regret? "Why should we trust you?" I challenged, heart pounding. "You could just be manipulating us." Alex took a steady breath. "I get it. You have every right to be skeptical. But I promise you, I'm not here to harm your father or diminish your feelings. I'm here because I've seen what your family has gone through. The truth needs to be revealed." He shot a glance at my father, whose shoulders had clenched tightly at the mention of our history. "But why now?" I pressed, my voice faltering under the weight of my skepticism. "Why should I believe anything you say?" Before Alex could answer, the cafe door swung open once more, a gust of wind sweeping through like an omen. Another figure stepped inside, shadowy and imposing, almost blending with the dim light. I gasped as the newcomer locked eyes with me, a warm familiarity radiating from his face that turned my stomach with an unexpected jolt. "Charlie." "Tom." I breathed, the name echoing with an urgency that stirred long-buried memories. He had been my childhood friend, a beacon of laughter during those darker afternoons when loneliness slithered into my heart. But he had disappeared, a few months after my father had left. "What are you doing here?" I whispered, breathless and confused. "I came to find you." I heard about your father and everything. His voice was steady, but the worry in his eyes hinted at secrets he'd carried all this time. You deserve to know the truth. The intersection of rumors, revelations, and the raw pang of nostalgia thrust me into such profound uncertainty that I felt the walls closing in. 1. Stranger offered the potential for depths of understanding, while another beckoned the familiar warmth of childhood, two paths diverging in a moment that could eclipse everything I thought I knew. Bubbles lay strewn across the floor, a forgotten promise of innocence caught in the tide of chaotic reawakenings. The little girl, wide-eyed and unaware of the gravity before her, suddenly seemed to embody an unwavering spark of hope. Will you come play? She asked again, her voice cutting through the tumbling confusion, a ghost of laughter waiting to break free. The kitchen around us buzzed with the ordinary, yet hidden behind each hum lay the extraordinary. Secrets were coiling tightly, lives rerouting in ways I could never anticipate. My father's quaking hands, Alex's confident assertions, Tom's unexpected reappearance, each element spoke to a grander tapestry woven with threads of truth and connection. Caught in the intertwining currents of the past, I stood wavering between choices, breathless. An eternity felt like it hung within reach, the wayward ripples of fate leaving me to wonder, could a simple bubble indeed shift the very foundations of my reality? And just as hope flickered like a candle desperately clinging to its flame, I knew whatever the truth held, it would demand from me the utmost courage to confront the darkness and illuminate the path ahead. The cafe swirled around me, a cacophony of laughter and clattering cups fading into a dull roar as the weight of Alex's words pressed down like a stone in my chest. Tom's sudden appearance felt like a lifeline and an anchor, both bringing memories flooding back like a tidal wave. Their shapes, all too familiar, blended with the reality of the strangers standing before me, each one a key to unlocking doors I never knew were hidden within my life. Charlie, he said again, taking a hesitant step forward, his voice steady but so charged with emotion that it made my heart race. I know this is insane, but you need to listen. There's so much we haven't talked about. So much that can't be ignored anymore. I ached to run into his arms, the comfort of childhood lingering in his embrace, but memories also tugged at me the day he vanished as if swallowed by the shadows of our abandoned playground. Where have you been? I whispered, my voice trembling with both longing and suspicion. What happened? After everything, I was scared, Tom replied, his gaze flickering to my father, whose demeanor had shifted from anxiety to watchful tension. I wanted to come back, but I didn't know how. All I could do was try to understand what had happened to our lives. Our lives. Those words collided with the uncertainty of my reality. My father's secrets. Alex's promises. Tom's looming presence poured gasoline onto my already burning questions. Who else had seen behind the curtains of our tumultuous past? You have to trust me, Tom insisted as I teetered between old love and newfound fear. There are people who know more about your family than you think. About what your father did, and what he didn't do. A chill crept through the cafe, wrapping itself around my spine as Alex interjected with urgency, listen, both of you. We don't have much time. Everything you think you know about your father, Charlie, is incomplete. If we're going to uncover the truth, we need to do it together. Together? I echoed, my heart splintered between the safety of the familiar and the terrifying possibilities each man represented. But what do you even know? What if you're both just chasing shadows? Tom stepped closer, his voice an urgent whisper, your father was tied to things, to people that meant to harm us. I heard rumors, but they won't stop until they get what they want. You need to be careful. Careful. The word echoed in my mind, a mantra of survival that felt distant yet imperative. With a little girl's innocent laughter echoing dully in my ears, I glanced at her as she rummaged into her broken bubble wand, fixating on the colorful remnants of the bubbles still swirling in the air. She was oblivious to the tempest brewing around us, but I couldn't shake the image of her wide eyes reflecting back the choice ahead of me. The cafe buzzed around us, oblivious to the emotional cliff hanging at our table. What do you mean harm? What happened to me matters, I demanded, needing clarity amidst the chaos. What debts? What choices? I need to understand where you fit into this. Everything you think is true could simply be the surface, whether it involves your father or your mother, Alex replied, cradling a conversation punctuated by the weight of unsaid words and measured refrains. The choices made were in service of a greater dark, and I need your support to untangle it all. Time isn't on our side. My father shifted uncomfortably, the muscles around his jaw tightening in accordance with our growing urgency. It was evident he was wrestling with his demons while Alex held the keys to a locked world he desperately wanted to forget. Suddenly, the air seemed heavy with unfulfilled promises and secrets intermingling like an unresolved melody. "Will you help us, Charlie?" Tom said, his eyes earnest yet laced with fear. "There are more strands tied around your life than just your father. This isn't just his mess. It's ours, together." A gust of wind played across the cafe, rupturing my inward reflection as the door swung open once again, extending beyond the threshold of refuge I craved. A looming silhouette stepped inside, unfamiliar yet striking. A power emanated from them that felt unsettlingly aware, as if they were searching for something hidden within me. My heart raced, an echoing drumbeat of dread mixed with fragile hope. I turned to see the familiar face of the newcomer, the haunting reminder of an old promise intertwined with the present storm. The cafe hushed into muted anticipation, the joy of everyday patrons silenced by a revelation I hadn't sought but felt destined to face. "Charlie," the figure announced, voice composed yet saturated with urgency. "It's time. The truth cannot remain buried any longer." And in the midst of an underscored destiny that enshrouded me like an untold fable, I felt the ground shift beneath my feet, crackling with a million hidden possibilities. Would embracing the truth only further entwine the threads of my family's past into a web of despair, or would it provide the key to my salvation? In that moment, shadows embraced me, light faltering as echoes of laughter and whispers pushed against the weight of revelation. As I faced the new arrival, I prepared to step once more into the unknown, where hope and fear danced on the precipice of my new reality. The cafe's atmosphere teetered between silence and an unspoken tension, as if the very walls were holding their breath. I could sense the collective gaze of every patron, their curiosity igniting whispers that spiraled around me. The weight of the stranger's presence was palpable, a surreal confrontation stitched into the fabric of my reality. "You've been searching for the truth, haven't you?" The newcomer continued, stepping into the light. The rich navy of his suit made him appear almost regal, yet the intensity of his emerald gaze stripped away any facade of power. "I know your father's secrets. They go deeper than you can possibly fathom." For a fleeting moment, the memory of my childhood coursed through me, the safety of stuffed animals and the gentle rhythm of lullabies. But that innocence felt like an unfinished story, drowning in dark waves of uncertainty. My heart raced, caught in a whirlwind of questioning. Was this man a harbinger of my fate, or merely an uninvited reminder of my family's mistakes? "Who are you?" I managed to ask, my voice low, the urgency of the moment threatening to slip through my fingers. He regarded me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. "I'm someone who once danced on the edge of your father's world. Someone who knows the power of silence and the consequences of buried truths." Tom's eyes never left mine as he stepped protectively closer. "Charlie, be careful. We don't know his intentions." I shook my head, frustration bubbling beneath my surface. "What do you want from me? Why should I trust you?" Echoes of betrayal made each word feel heavier than it should. The stranger took a breath, then unfolded a piece of paper. "This is the beginning of what you need to see. It's not just your father's past, there's more to your mother's story, and it's intertwined with your life in ways that could threaten everyone you care about." A stab of fear shot through me at the mention of my mother. I had spent years piecing together memories of her laughter, her warmth before the day that shattered our family into chaos. "You know about my mother?" I whispered that. He nodded solemnly. "And what she sacrificed to protect you and the secrets she took with her. If you want answers, you'll have to face the ghosts of your past, including the real reason your father vanished from your life." I felt as though I were standing on the edge of a deep precipice, hesitating to take the next step. The unknown loomed beneath, dark and unfathomable, yet oddly enticing. I thought of the little girl in the cafe, her joy and the bubble remnants leaking light into the dimness. Could uncovering these truths bring me closer to understanding what had happened, or would it simply dig deeper into the wounds I hardly acknowledged? "Charlie, please," Tom urged, his voice breaking through my reverie. "This could destroy everything we've tried to rebuild. But if we don't face it together, it will haunt you forever." Just then, the cafe door swung open again, this time with an urgency that swung my heart into a dizzying freefall. I turned to see a woman, her eyes wide with panic. "I need to find my daughter," she gasped, frantically scanning the room, oblivious to the drama unfolding around me. "What?" I whispered, frozen by the fear mirrored in her eyes. Tom moved forward, instinct kicking in as he reached out. "What do you mean? Is she in danger?" "Yes. They've taken her," she stammered, clutching a crumpled photo in her hands, desperate for hope. "Please, you have to help me." My pulse quickened, a stark jolt of reality colliding with my inner chaos. The fear in her voice struck an unfamiliar chord within me, one resonating with layers of my own unresolved heartache. Then it dawned on me, the threads of our lives were indeed entwined in ways I had yet to comprehend. Fragments of my own past flooded my thoughts, the missing pieces that needed clear illumination. Perhaps aligning our struggles would lay the groundwork for a greater understanding. "I can help," I said, pulling together lingering fragments of courage. "We all can." Before I could grasp the full weight of my commitment, Tom's expression shifted, a clarity sparking an urgency in his gaze. "But it's not just a missing child, there are forces at play that are far beyond us." With each heartbeat, our fates felt more interlinked, the unspoken fate of a woman, a missing child, and my own disturbing history gathering like storm clouds. As I moved to assist the distraught mother, the moment appeared to transform, revealing the tangled web of secrets suspended between us. Just then, my phone buzzed violently against the table, startling me. It was a message from an unknown number. A breath caught in my throat as the message read, "You want the truth? I have it. But it comes with a price. Meet me tonight at the corner of 4th and Main." My heart fluttered, a mix of dread and hope swirling in the air as I glanced between Tom and Alex, feeling the weight of the choices lying before me. Would I step into another darkness, chasing a truth that might further shatter the fragile bonds forming around me? Or would this bring the clarity I craved, one that might save not just my soul, but others entwined within the storm? And just like the bubble bursting in the hands of that little girl, there was no way of knowing whether confronting my past would lead to liberation or despair. The atmosphere inside the cafe shifted as the weight of the woman's panic collided with my own inner turmoil. Tom's eyes darted from the mother to me, and I could practically hear the gears of his mind turning. "We need to find her," he insisted with resolve, stepping away from the mysterious stranger who had cast a shadow over my day. I nodded, glancing once more at the woman's tear-streaked face, her desperation igniting a new fire within me. "What is her name?" I asked, trying to rein in the swirling chaos, including the undeniable pull of the unread message on my phone. "Lily," she gasped, squeezing her photo with shaking hands. It was a snapshot of a little girl at a park, vibrant in a bright red dress, beaming with a joy marked by innocence. "She's just 4. Please, I swear, I saw someone take her." Tom's protective instinct surged forward as he questioned, "Did you see who took her? Did you report it?" I was at the grocery store," and her voice hitched, the memory knotting her throat. I turned around for just a moment. "Now she's gone, it's okay, we'll get her back," I said, though internally doubt gnawed at me. I glanced at Tom, who seemed anchored to the moment, readying himself to jump into action. "We have to split up," Tom declared. "Charlie, you check the nearby shops and call me if you find anything. I'll talk to the staff here and see if anyone saw what happened." As I moved towards the door, every footstep felt heavier, loaded with a sense of responsibility that pushed aside my need to confront my own truths. I couldn't shake the sinking realization that this was more than just a missing child, it was a plea for connection, the same yearning that thudded within my own heart that I stepped outside, the chill of the evening air wrapping around me as I sprinted from shop to shop along the street. I began to ask strangers if they'd seen the girl, clinging desperately to the hope that someone would have relevant information, that someone cared enough to help. But just as I felt glimmers of hope with each polite refusal, a thought crept into my mind: what if I couldn't save her? What if the patterns of my life were destined to repeat, born from the same shadows that had swathed my own childhood? With each passing moment, the knot in my stomach tightened. Images of my own mother's absence roared to life, and I could feel my heart imperceptibly cracking open a little further, exposing yet another layer of vulnerability. The unease permeated the streets, a stillness falling around me as moments dragged into eerie stretches of time. After what felt like hours spent questioning others, I finally returned to the cafe, breathless and empty-handed. Tom stood outside, his expression somber, arms crossed tightly over his chest. "Nothing," he said, and the word hung like a lead weight. "The staff haven't seen anything. Just some patrons who were in and out, no clear leads." The woman had retreated to a corner booth, her head cradled in her hands, the weight of her despair growing heavier with every passing second. And yet, even in her sorrow, there was an undeniable thread of resilience. If it weren't for her fight, I might have remained ensnared in my own past, taking my inaugural steps into the light strictly to chase my own truths. "Does she have any family nearby?" I asked Tom, who was watching the mother with an unreadable expression. "According to the little I gleaned, no," he replied reluctantly. "But maybe we could reach out to the authorities for help. They often have resources for missing children." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again, the unexpected vibrance snapping my focus back. "Meet me at 4th and Main, don't tell anyone," the text read. "Tom, it's the unknown number," I breathed, thin tendrils of fear and curiosity curling my thoughts. He noticed my expression instantly, reading the unsaid words. "Do you think it's a trap?" "This isn't the time I have to know, Tom. I can't keep running from whatever this is." My voice broke as I stood on the precipice of my own choice, but as I looked back at the mother, her eyes pooled in sorrow. My heart ached with the decision. What if this reveals something that could help her? Or something that could destroy you? Tom's voice was a cautionary whisper, a reminder of my past. "You haven't even faced what you have left behind." Pain thrummed in my chest as the battle raged inside. Courage felt like a fragile commodity, yet what if this journey into the truth, no matter how perilous, could ultimately thread a new and healing purpose for every one of us? I hesitated, my mind dizzy with possibilities. Before I could weigh the consequences any longer, I made up my mind. I need to go. It could change everything. Tom nodded solemnly, but a flicker of worry flared in his eyes. "Then we go together." As we hurried, I felt time colliding. With every step toward that meeting place, a maelstrom of emotions roared within: fear, excitement, anger, hope, until, just as the street corner loomed ahead, a further pang of dread threatened to drown them all out, and just then, we arrived. My heart pounding, I scanned the alleyway before us, the promise of answers shrouded in darkness. But as my gaze fell on the ethereal figure awaiting us, I froze in shock. It wasn't just a stranger waiting there. The person standing before us was a face steeped in my past, one I had long thought lost to the annals of my childhood. "Charlie," the figure breathed, a familiar voice breaking through the night air. "Mom." The word slipped from my lips, grief and disbelief colliding within my storm-tossed heart. And as memories rushed back, the thrill of discovering long-hidden truths washed over me, leaving questions lingering like echoes through the alley. Would I be able to save Lily? Would the truth set me free, or would it shatter everything all over again? The weight of the moment surged like a tidal wave, crashing against everything I had learned to guard. My mother, standing before me bathed in shadows and moonlight, was the very embodiment of all the feelings I'd buried deep. In that instant, the world fell silent, a blanket of chaos dissipating into stillness as the pending revelations loomed like specters just beyond reach. "Charlie," she repeated, her voice quivering with emotion. I've searched for you all this time. I could hear the tremor of vulnerability in her tone, a reminder that the woman I had once adored was still tethered to the spirit I had lost. I stood frozen, battling the kaleidoscope of emotions that threatened to overwhelm me. The questions danced on my tongue, each demanding their turn but collapsing into a cacophony of unresolved hurt and longing. Why? Why didn't you come back for us? I managed, my voice shaking as I was pulled back into memories that were at once bitter and sweet. The shadows around her deepened, and I could see the trail of her anguish etched on her face. I thought I was protecting you. The choices I made, they were meant to keep you safe, Charlie. Every syllable echoed the legacy of her sacrifice, renewing the heartache that had followed my father's departure, shattering my naive expectations and plunging me back into a chasm of confusion. The truth can't change the past, I whispered, each word a fractal of grief. And my childhood was lost forever. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, the flicker of hope within them battling the specter of disappointment. But it can help us heal. If you let me explain what your father meant to us, why things turned out the way they did. Before I could respond, Tom's hand found my shoulder, a firm grip that radiated both urgency and solidarity. Charlie, there are lives at stake, including that little girl. We can't let ourselves get lost in these memories. We need a path forward. The determination in his voice sliced through my hesitation, reminding me of the pressing consequences that threatened those entangled in our story. As panic surged at the thought of Lily, the mother's plea sprang back into my mind. I can't walk away from this. But I need to understand, I breathed, looking at Tom. For her. My gaze shifted back to my mother, who stood like a lighthouse illuminated in a storm. If you truly want to help, you need to go to 4th and Main, just like the message said. But only if you understand the depths of what you're about to face, she replied, her voice steadying as if she were in a position of control, a woman reclaiming her story. But what if it's a trap? I shot back, an unpredictable tremor weaving through my fears. You disappeared. How do I know you haven't brought all of this on to haunt me? To hurt my life all over again? Her teal eyes sparked with resolve, igniting something in me, an ember of trust fighting to break free. Because I've missed too much, Charlie. I'm here because I want to make things right. You may not understand yet, but this is our chance to reclaim what was lost. Please. Then let us do this together, I murmured, a flicker of hope igniting within the storm raging in my heart. Tom stepped back, and I inhaled deeply, grounding myself in this moment, a decision bound to unravel all truths hidden away. The tether between my past and the present tightened, and with it, the responsibility to forge a path for all of us who have been caught in the crosshairs of lost promises. With every step toward 4th and Main, the memories weighed less heavily on my heart. As the chill of evening kissed my skin, I could sense the danger closing in, shadowy figures lurking in wait, threatening to dismantle the future I still ached to claim. But alongside trepidation, an unwavering determination glimmered brighter than any uncertainty. The stories of my family were no longer remnants of sorrow but the very fabric from which redemption could be woven. As we approached the intersection, the hustle and bustle faded, and I turned to my mother, searching for there was always a light flickering just beneath her surface. What do I need to know? I asked, my heart pounding in rhythm with my footsteps. The truth we've buried runs deep. It holds our entire legacy, the beauty, the heartbreak, and the strength we'll need to overcome the storms ahead. Be prepared for anything. The words resonated within me, reminding me that healing was often birthed from facing our truest fears, even when the cost seemed too high to bear. Each heartbeat pulsed more firmly with resolve as we stepped into the impending challenge of nights long lost to shadows. And in that moment, I understood the bubbles I had blown represented not just playfulness, but a journey into resilience, the beauty of rising again after life's interruptions grasped even those in disarray. I dared to believe that there was a way to fix what had broken, to reclaim what had once flickered brightly, ultimately leading me closer to those I yearned to protect. As I stood at the corner of 4th and Main, shadows unfolding before me, the future crouched like a coiled spring. And somewhere in the depths of my heart, the answer felt within reach. Reunion lay not just in understanding those who had forever shaped my past, but in finding forgiveness for meeting what once shattered, rising to see what could blossom. The waves crashed in the distance, a sweet melody grounding my resolve like the beautiful but fleeting bubbles I had long sought to capture. Now, I stood on the precipice, ready to confront the darkness that awaited, knowing that even the rawest truths held the promise of new beginnings. And as I stepped forward, I realized, in the depths of pain, light could always find a way to emerge, and in the hue of every tear, life could paint a rainbow into existence. This journey was not mine to walk alone. Together we would weave lost threads into the fabric of hope, proving that even in the most fractured hearts, love could always mend. The new beginning awaited, and as my heart raced one last time, I whispered a resolve that shivered to life: let us create something beautiful.